Will Murphy coming to you from Mac Lighting in Los Angeles. Welcome to today's Tech Talk. It's just me today, so we're going to cover a little kickoff topic on the align keyword, align button, what do you do with it. We've got some great pre-registration questions, so definite thank you for sending those. As usual, you have the opportunity to post questions to us, so feel free to use that live questions function of the GoToWebinar to post some questions to me. You know, and as per usual, when the webinar is done, you can always email us at support@aclighting.com. So let's get to it. What's align? Well, align is a function that you will use to align values to one another. So of course you could have a dimmer of 100%, but if you wanted to do a even alignment of a dimmer range across multiple fixtures, you might have 50 through 100 or 0 through 100. So if I take my typical alpha spots and we say at 50 through 100, I'm defining a range. So I'm really doing an alignment of values. This is an even alignment of values from 50 to 100 based on my selection order. The nice thing is the command line allows you to do multiple through commands. So if I wanted 0 through 100, this is like from left to right, not very symmetrical. I'm a big fan of symmetry. So I might say something like at 50 through 100 through 50. And this is looking at my selection order. I've selected these lights in this order based on the fixture sort of the fixture sheet. And I want my outer fixtures to be at 50 and my middle fixtures to be at 100, and then I want to evenly align that. So this is me just using the command line to do an alignment of values. Well, I could do the same thing with the actual align key. Right? So I could use the align function with my encoders. So I'm going to pull up a fixture sheet down here so you guys can see this, 50 through 0. So let's say we start at 0 and I hit my align key. Now you notice this align key is linked directly up to this align button here with the little shark fin. So I can hit either key at any time. It's up to you. Maybe you don't have a touch screen. Maybe you have a command wing. So you're going to use the actual hard key on the command wing. I want to align to left or the least, the first selection. And as I start spinning my encoder, you'll see in MA3 that they're aligning. That's essentially the same as me saying at 0 through 100. I could, if I turn align off or bring everything back to 0, I could align to the right. So now the stage rightmost fixtures are coming up first and the stage left are staying at 0. We turn that back off, bring everything to 0. A handy one is align to outer. That's the fourth option of align. So I set my outer fixtures, I set my starting value at 50 because I want my outer fixtures to be 50%. Use align to outer. It keeps the outer fixtures locked in at 50%, and as I bring my encoder up, the inner fixtures come up to full. The outer ones stay at 50. Now align to center happens to be the one that confuses people the most because you assume your thinking is the same as how I did align to outer. Like, oh, I want my inner fixtures to be 100. Well, sorry, I put my inner fixtures at 50. Well, my outer fixtures go to 100, so I'm going to try align to center. Well, what you're going to notice, that's not really going to work very well because align to center is useful for pan because it takes from the center point out, the left half of your selection goes down, the right half goes up. Now, this doesn't work so well for dimmer. But why don't we try this with pan, and you'll see align to outer is very helpful. So I'll tilt these to the downstage edge, my 3D. When I zoom those down so you can see them better, And if I choose align to left, you'll notice the fixtures go to stage right. We can oops that. I could align to right. Fixtures go to stage left. Could oops that. You know, here's where align to center is useful because I need half the pan values to go down and half the pan values to go up in order to get those lights to point center stage. So as I roll my encoder, you'll see pan values of the first half of my selection are going up and the pan values of the second half of my selection are going down. So align to center is going to become really useful for pan type alignment. Little trick, I'll keep moving forward with this so you can catch on to this little trick. I'm trying to align these on that singer right there. And now my outer fixtures, nothing's really hitting them. As soon as I touch another encoder, notice that align turns off. That's on purpose. So that what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt these up. And we'll bring this dimmer down a little bit. So now the outer fixtures are pointing on my singer. And maybe I could use my stage view to take a look at the top view. 3D did not follow me there because 3D is logged in as user 2. Interesting. Maybe it's this stage view. There we go. That's why. Go to the top view. On my 3D, you'll see that these lights are pointed on my singer there. And we'll jump back down to this little screen. And now the outer fixtures are correct. So this is where you can use align to outer to keep them in place. And you'll spin your tilt encoder, which will bring those back down into place, which gets them right there on your singer. Very handy. You guys do a little practicing with this as with any other function in the console. Practice makes perfect, so practice these align functions so you get a sense of how they work better. They're aligning values. Some people might refer to this as fan, so we use the word align. My next favorite function with align comes into play when I deal with color. If we go to, say, my cool little HSB color picker here, bring those to full. I could choose align to left. See, I started with red, and now I can drag my little X around the screen to align those colors. Reset that. Maybe I start with blue, and I can align to right. Well, align to left and align to right are kind of the same thing when it comes to color. Align to center, once again, remember half the values go up and half the values go down. So align to center with color doesn't really make sense. Like I said before, align to center is really kind of a pan thing. But if I choose my outer color, if I want my outer fixtures to be red, now I can choose align to outer, and I can come over here, and now my inner fixtures are green. Another thing you might do is maybe you want to do kind of a sunset. So you need more saturated in the middle, less saturated in the outer. Well, I need to pick my outer color first, less saturated. Then I'll choose align to outer, drag it up, and now I have more saturated in the middle, which would make kind of a beautiful sunset or sunrise function. You could, maybe you need to get a little more blue over here, so we start over there and then we drag it this way. So a little playing you could do. Oh, now it gets really crazy. So, you know, play around until you find, get a sense of how the align function works, particularly with color as well. If we jump back to kind of the encoder function, interesting thing I've done is like take a typical wheel. Maybe we start with red and we choose align to right. Now I'm actually aligning my color wheel across my fixtures. And if you notice in 3D, you see the different colors, but what particularly is also helpful is if you check out the little thumbnail view in your fixture sheet, you could see that some of these are split colors, some of these are magenta, etc. Once again, maybe it's helpful to use align to outer so that you have some symmetry in the works. You could do the same thing with gobo. You know, you'd set a starting gobo and 1.4, and you see it snapping to the different gobos. So now you have a symmetrical array of a few gobos. Definitely things you can play with. Zoom is another one that I've had fun with in regards to align. Let's say I want my outer fixtures to be larger, and then I'll choose align to outer and spin this encoder wheel so that the inner fixtures are zoomed down. So, align. You're just aligning values. And remember at the beginning of this little tutorial, I pointed out at 0 through 50 through 0. Well, you could do this with any of the calculators. So wide through 87. In this case, I'd say 0 through 50 through 0. And now I've applied a range of zoom values. Or I could say 100 through 0 through 100. Now, what's even more fascinating is you can keep going with that syntax. So I could say 0 through 100 through 0 through 100 through 0. And you see it's big, small, big, small, big. Works with dimmer, works with any kind of values that you want. So, for example, gobo wheel. Let's see, the first gobo is a value of, go to my big screen for this. The first gobo is a value of 4.4. The fourth gobo is a value of 13.7. So I might say 4.4 through 13.7 through 4.4. Now you're going between the first gobo, the second gobo, and the third gobo, and then back to the second gobo, back to the first. So definitely some fun with align. Additionally, stage view makes align kind of fun. Hopefully you guys have used the down, we'll say 80. Hopefully you guys have used the follow mode in the stage view. Follow mode says you can point anywhere on this square stage plane and the lights will point there. But let's center the pan and put these at 50 or maybe 45. What's interesting is align works with this stage follow mode as well. So something that you might do with your encoders is we'd match up that stage rightmost fixture to that first, forgot what that guy's playing, a guitar? Yeah. So we get the first fixture on this guitarist, and then we want to align the rest. Well, I want to align to the left, because that's the first fixture of my selection. And then I could drag my finger across the screen to get those all to kind of point on that singer. So align in conjunction with the stage view can be pretty fun. I guess if these fixtures are already hung and you're using follow mode, align doesn't really make sense to align to the singer because, well, I'm just going to point it there. But I have had some fun with, say, doing some like align to outer functions with the stage view, because then I could drag my finger up and down the stage based on align to outer, and I get a nice V pattern. Wonder what align to center will do for us. Yeah, bring that V pattern in. You notice I don't really have to, I can just kind of click anywhere in this stage plane and the lights start reacting. So once a line is enabled, you know, left, dragging my mouse left and right with align to center is bringing the pan values up and down. Oh, upstage, downstage is applying to the tilt, so it doesn't work as well as I want. But then if I go to align to outer, now I can use up and down on the stage to change where that the point of that V is located. So anywhere, you can tap anywhere in your stage plane to align these values. So that's another fun one. Definitely check that out. Okay. That's kind of the most function with align. You remember, you're just aligning values, so you can use it with the stage plane. You could type it into the calculators. You can spin your encoders. You're just aligning values. There was a question about align related to timing settings. So far we've just been looking at values. Well, we have that Tech Talks on iTime that you can find on YouTube. There's the fade and delay layer. So you can do timing. Let's see, we'll select executor 1. You can use the same align function for timing. So if I grab my alpha spots and we bring them to full, if I were to store that as first cue, they're all going to come on at one time. So I don't want that. Instead, I want individual timing of a delay. So I go to the delay layer, and I could say 0 through 50 through 0, which is crazy because now the outer fixture is going to come on immediately, and the center fixtures aren't going to come on until 50 seconds later. But spinning your encoders, the same way we just learned with values is the same way with timing. So I'd start there, and I could say align to left, which is going to distribute 0 through 9 seconds. So if we store that as our first cue, and then I hit go, you'll see these come on one at a time. You can actually watch this happen in your fixture sheet in real time. I'm on the delay layer here, so I actually see those timing values. Let's see if we can oops back to before I stored that executor. Another thing, maybe you want your outer fixtures to come on 5 seconds later, or let's say 15 seconds later, and you want to align those outer to value. You could just dial this in slowly. Accidentally clicked there. So now my starting is, roughly 6 seconds. They finish at 13.4. So if you store this and you play, these guys aren't going to actually come on until about 6 seconds after the cue has started. So right there, these come on 7 seconds later, 8 seconds, etc. So dial in delay, fade, even on the effect layer, you could use the align function. Anything with encoders, anything that's on your encoders generally will work with the align function. Okay. Let's see. Just covering some pre-reg questions here. Somebody asked about randomizing selections. Great question. I tend to open the tools menu and say shuffle selection order. Now, well, I had nothing selected, so that didn't do anything. Try that again. Shuffle selection order. And now you can see it's not 1 through 0, it's 108, 110, 101, etc. Remember, your align function always assumes your selection order, not the actual fixture numbers. So if I open the delay calculator and I say 0 through 5, it's in order of my selection, but that's technically kind of random based on the stage. So I'm going to restore this as Q1, just so you can see what happens. We'll turn off this executor. When we hit go, they kind of come on all randomly because I had selected them in a random order. You could set up a macro for this. The keyword is simply shuffle selection. So you can keep repeating that and watch this change. I have a macro pool over here that's actually a predefined, load predefined. Shuffle selection is going to be in the list. Here we go, shuffle selection. So now every time I tap this, it keeps shuffling my selection order, which is essentially how you can randomize your selection order. And then when you align, you're aligning to the selection order, not to the fixture numbers. So definitely a good question there. Yeah, there was somebody that asked a question, can the align function, can you change the curve of the align function to get a more kind of weighted look? No. So it is a kind of a linear alignment. However, hopefully you were watching me dealing with color and with the stage view. You notice how I enabled the line, I disabled it, I enabled it again. That's kind of how you can sort of get kind of create sort of a curve. So I did something like this, and then I lined it out, or I can drag it this way. So that's kind of a weighted align in a way. Maybe I would have to do, like, at this point, these are, say, 107 through 1112, and then I would do align again. So now I do that, and then so if I select these all again, you get kind of a weighted curve. A little harder when it's not related to color or the stage view. So color, you can get away with this in that stage view if you enable follow mode and you do something like this. You can get away with kind of a weighted curve, but in terms of the rest of the values, it's going to be kind of hard. I have to enable follow mode again. So we drag those out a little bit, and then I would select these guys, and then we enable follow mode and align to outer and drag this out. So how do I know all this stuff so quickly? It's just, you know, practice, practice, practice. So at least with pan tilt in the stage view and color, you can do kind of a weighted curve, but not really anything anywhere else yet. Very good wish to have, though. So that was the kind of pre-reg questions on the align. I'll jump into some other questions here. The guy had a question about setting up Vectorworks drawings in GrandMA 3D software, not having success finding this online. We won't do this as a Tech Talks because, well, we've done it. If you navigate to our support tab, MA2, you're going to find Vectorworks in MA. These are all the tutorials we have. So drawing in Vectorworks, this particular article was actually written by Vectorworks guys themselves. They help us make these tutorials, importing the 3D models. So that's for the modeling side of things, using the Vectorworks plugin. So using the Vectorworks plugin is just an export. There's a video in here. So just like our Tech Talks, it talks about exporting. If you're having problems arranging your fixtures in Vectorworks, you're going to have to talk to Vectorworks about that. They have, you know, training classes around the country, tutorials, etc. But once all your stuff is set up, we have the tutorials on using the export plugin. So remember, support tab, MA2, Vectorworks, and MA is the link for that. Hopefully I'm interpreting this question correctly. If you store a delay preset like 0 through 0.5 through 0, does it store the command or is it storing the spread among the fixtures? A preset contains fixture data. It can contain values, it can contain information from the delay layer, and it can contain information from the effect layer. So 101 through 112, say dimmer at 100. I'm going to look at my dimmer pool, and we'll go to delay, and he said here 0 through 0.5 through 0. Okay, when I store store this preset, it's storing these values, full, and it's storing 0 through 0.5 through 0 per fixture. So it's not, of course, it's not storing the command. It's storing specifically these values for these fixtures. And you can right-click and edit in order to see that. If you wanted the 0 through 0.5 through 0 as a command, you could, of course, set up a macro. That's not a bad idea, because this generic macro would be delay 0 through 0.5 through 0. See if this works. I think I got that command right. This at 0 macro. Yeah, 0 through 0.5 through 0. Keep in mind that delay syntax applies to what's on your encoder. So if I were to say 45 and run this syntax, it applies it to pan and tilt because those are what are on my encoder. Now there is kind of a cool little trick, that I'll show you guys. Doesn't really work with ranges, but it does work with whole numbers. So I'll use the all tool. Turn everything off, and you select all the fixtures, and say you want a fade of, we'll use this link button, link all, fade of 1 second, and I will store that as here. And then I'll do a fade of 2 seconds and store that here, and then do a fade of 3 seconds and store that here. So now I've created an all preset, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, that applies to all attributes of my current selection. So if I grab that, I bring it to full, and I would like 2 second delay. Oh boy, it applies to all the attributes, but I really want that to only apply to dimmer. This is where you can use your filter pool. So I would set up some filters here that dimmer only, and then position only, and then say maybe mix color only. So this is my dimmer filter, my position, and my RGB. So now, same workflow, what I could do is select my lights, bring them to full. I only want to apply a fade time to dimmer, so I choose call the dimmer filter 1 second, or 2 seconds, or 3 seconds. You see, while that filter is called, it only applies to the attribute that I've chosen. So I could go to value, I want this to be 45 degrees in 3 seconds. So I could set up a view that's a bunch of filters for specific attributes, and in the all pool, store a bunch of 1.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. That doesn't quite work with ranges. You're still going to have to specify your ranges for specific fixtures, or maybe do macros. So I'd have a couple rows of macros for ranges of timing. Then I'd do this filter and all pool trick, which makes doing individual timing faster. Just set up, try different things, Hopefully that clarifies that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them. Couple more. Guy wants a macro to select all the fixtures and strike with 1 second delay between fixtures. Don't use a macro. Waste of time. Fixture through, use a queue list. I have to do this by, you have to do this by fixture type. Lamp control, lamp on. Then we need to do our washes and do lamp on. You don't do macros, you do a queue list with delay timing. And then we do the alpha beams. Lamp on. And then select everything that's active. I need to do a delay for just this attribute. of, you're going to have to look at your selection. I have 12, 12, and 12, 0 through 36. So if I go to the delay layer, I can see, oh, there's roughly 1 second between each one. And select executor 2, or maybe, you know what, I guess I would put this down on my X keys to be more helpful. Store that there. And if we go, you'll see lamp on, lamp on, lamp on. Oh, I guess I should get the fade time out of the queue. Don't want to fade up to lamp on, just snap to lamp on. So, hey, that's basically your macro, right? So, hope that clarifies that one for you. How to get different symbols on the layout view. There's actually a tutorial about this in the help manual. So visit the help manual, add pool elements. It talks about background images. So background images is how you're going to add symbols to the layout view. Go ahead and visit this tutorial, help.malighting.com, tutorials, layout, add a background image, get everything you need. Basically, I go to setup, I draw a box in my layout view. I need an image, so I choose one. There we go, I have a symbol, or just want it to be a play button. There we go. If you want to add more images, you have to use an image pool. So you'd right click on this, import image from your USB stick or other versions, or from somewhere in the existing library. Cool. Somebody had a question about editing personalities, which in MA language is fixture profiles. So how do you edit fixture profiles? Go to support tab, go to MA2, go to fixture profile encyclopedia. This is everything about dealing with fixture profiles. We explain the components, we explain attribute and encoder grouping. Basic guide to building a fixture, new fixture profile to your fixture types. It's all there. Go ahead and check that out. Was there a command to select all fixtures by their type? Good question. Basically, call them by name. I'm assuming you see how we have a spot. Ooh. I'm going to say fixture. Instead of an ID, I will use quotes and say a spot. I will add a wildcard, this little asterisk here to the end, which is a wildcard, which says, okay, find everything that starts with, select everything that starts with the name a spot. I don't care what it ends with, because obviously it ends with different numbers. And it has selected those. Now notice I want to show you another trick, alpha A wash or a spot. If I just want to select everything with wash, maybe I have alpha washes and Martin washes and this and that. I just want to select all my wash fixtures. Well, we're going to put a wildcard at the beginning and the end. So you see asterisk wash star. So any fixture with the name wash in it. Now I've selected everything with wash. Magic, right? How do you apply a wing effect to an odd number of fixtures? You don't, I guess. It's an odd number of fixtures. There's always going to be something weird as a result. How However, I guess the very middle fixture would stay solid. So if you just want to see this, I will add a alpha spot, make that 113. So now I have an odd number of fixtures. We go to the stage view. 113. Yeah. 101 through 113. I'm gonna set this up again. So let me try -9 through 9. That is not what I wanted. -9 through 9. Oh, it's doing a relative reference. -9. Frustrating. -9 through 9 should do the spread. It's doing very strange. We'll start at the beginning and try this from the center point. I'm thoroughly confusing myself. Reset rotation, reset position, 101 through 113. That -9 through 9. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So bring those up in the air. So how do you do wings on this? What's the question? We'll tilt those 45. -45, so the downstage. If I choose align to center at this point, that middle fixture is just not going to move. I guess that's essentially the question. Now I do the same thing with an effect. I'll just do let's do a pan effect. Slow that down. -10 to 10, and if we start this effect, it's kind of stage right to stage left. I would just do wings of -2. Remember, anytime you're doing wings with pan, you have to say -2. So I guess it's hard to tell what's happening, but that's the closest you're going to be able to get to a winged pan effect. Yeah, so the center too. So basically, I would probably not select the center fixture if I was going to do this effect. I would do 101 through 113 minus fixture 107. And then your center fixture doesn't move, which is how I would do a wing effect of odd. So hopefully that answers your question. Let your center point, exclude your center fixture from the effect, and you can run a different effect on it. I mean, maybe you can have it just kind of tilt up and down a little bit, so at least it has a little bit of movement. I could do something like select 107, add tilt. Want that to move at the same speed, and I really want it to be kind of subtle, so I'd say -2 to 2, just so it's very subtle. And now if we look at stage view, you can see the center fixture is just barely moving up and down, so at least get some movement, so it's not totally static, but it's not conflicting with the symmetry that you have on both sides. Okay. We got a few more minutes left. There was a couple questions. I need to know how to make my template effects have a mirror phase by default. Load predefined. Let's say we want to do a pan tilt circle. Oops, accidentally had selection. Quantity none, it's now a template. Set your pan wing to -2 and your tilt to 2. And now you have a template effect that does wings. So if I do 101 through 112, tilt that downstage, and I think this is actually going to be a huge circle. It's not going to be easy to see. Let's make that a smaller circle. So now, when I tap on that, it's got the mirroring that you're trying to do in your template effects. So just if you're confused when you're building it, remember, build it as a selective. Then take selection, build it as a selective until you're happy. Then clear programmer, take selection, and now it's got the wings that it needs in order to do the mirroring. But as another attendee pointed out, if you have an odd number, I guess you're going to have to select evens. One thing I like to do is a particular effect like this. I'll do, 101 through 104 and tap my template effect. And then I will do, actually we want 101 through 104 and 109 through 1113. Oops, minus fixture, I had too many there. Need to off fixture 109, and they're still selected, so I tilt those down stage. I did something funny with fixture 113, I guess. So I'm going to use the stage view for this because I see it better. You select those fixtures, we'll do those 3, and then we'll do those 3, and do that, and then I'm going to tilt them down stage, and I will do 101 through 103, and go to the effects, start that little kind of circle, and then I'll select the other side and do the circle. And then the two halves are essentially doing the same thing because I've called the same template effect twice, and I can synchronize them by doing MA effect, which synchronizes all the running effects so you can see what it looks like when they start in the queue. Okay. And there was one other question. I apologize, I am not too clear on it. Tips for programming a theater show. Theater show, make a single queue list. One big, huge queue list. You want to make it easy for your stage manager to run lists without my board op. I showed you earlier how you can create an executor to lamp on everything. So just show you a little trick here. If I had, let's say I had 200 queues here, that's my main queue list, yeah. So your stage manager would have to walk in and be told to hit one button. Well, this is executor 1.201. So right here, go executor 1.201. So now when they start the first queue, it triggers this executor, okay? You obviously don't want that executor on for the whole show, so you tell your stage manager as soon as all the lights are verified to be on and working, go to Q2, which turns off that executor. So you need to do kind of command links for sure. All right. So that's all the questions that I had on the list. answered all the new questions, etc., and you learned a little bit about Align, plus a lot of other cool things. So I hope you enjoyed today's Tech Talks. As usual, if you have any other questions, you can email us at support@gliding.com. Happy programming.